Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Indie Pop on the New Age Insiders Network. Damian Salty G and his co-host, the Marky Smart heel, Trina. What up, Trina?
Hi, guys.
So Trina, last I checked, you went to some place that Buzz Lightyear likes to reference. For those that don't know, Buzz Lightyear is a character from Toy Story, and his catchphrase is "to infinity and beyond." So my partner in crime went this weekend, and unfortunately I couldn't go because I had adulting to do. Not adultering, adulting. And he went beyond in Somerville, Massachusetts. Would you like to share with the audience what exactly that consisted of?
Yeah. I mean, okay. If you know anything about Beyond, if you follow indie wrestling companies or on Twitter or things like that, the only thing I think I knew about Beyond before this was that they were one of the companies that lets people stand like right at the edge of the mat, like the ring. Like you can just post up like right there, everything's happening in front of you. There was one side that didn't have fans. So like for any big spots or anything like that, they were able to do that without touching the fans or anything like that. But I think that was actually mandated by the city because a lot of people in the crowd were telling me that like, no, typically all four sides of the ring are completely packed. I got a VIP ticket. So apparently that bought me a ticket on the stage. So I paid extra to not stand around the ring, even though that's really what I wanted to do. But I had a lot of stuff with me because I'd done shopping ahead of time. And so I had stuff. So I was like, oh, fine, I'll sit on the stage with everybody else and, just watch. But yeah, I went out to Beyond this weekend because I knew a couple of people that were going to be on the card. And it's in Somerville, which is 5 minutes from Cambridge, which is 10 minutes from Boston. And pretty much I will take any excuse possible to head out to Boston. So yeah, I just wanted to support some of my friends and I really just wanted to go to Boston and like eat all my favorite food. So I had miles and I went out there. I was there for pretty much 24 hours, flew in, immediately like went to my favorite pizza place and all this, just went shopping and all this different stuff and then went to Beyond and then, went home. So that was my weekend.
So did you see any good wrestling? Like, were there anything to write home about? Any of the talent?
I did. Well, I mean, there were a couple of people. I thought of you the whole time because these were all people that you've talked about before, that you'd seen live and that you loved. And I'd never seen them live before. So EYFBO.
Nice.
Right?
Yes, you did.
They were amazing in person. And it wasn't just the wrestling. It's like they sold everything. Like it was the character work.
Great at selling. That is so true.
The character work was amazing. And I don't know if it was because I was so close or whatever, but I could hear all the dialogue and they were in character the whole time. So like, the one guy would be like, come on, Ricky, like, don't give in and all this, like they were just hilarious talking to each other. And first time for me to see Keith Lee, Scotty Slade of the Insiders Network.
I was there. Scotty was there.
First time I got to see him. So a lot of new people, like Brian Cage was on the card. People I see all the time, but essentially it was a chance to go to Boston and to see a bunch of wrestlers that I'd never seen before. Who else? I think EYFBO was the one that impressed me the most, seeing them in person, because I just popped through their whole match and all I could think about was, your review of their match and how good they were. And I was like, yeah, these guys really are good. Really fantastic. And seeing Keith Lee in person, that guy's huge. Like,
yeah, I don't think the pictures give him justice.
No, they don't. And that's the thing. Like, you have to see these big guys like in person. And Eddie Edwards, I'd actually never seen in person. Which, like I follow him, but I just have never seen any of his matches like in person. Just new people, new places, like new fans. Like that's the big thing. Because I go to AEW all the time. And so I see a lot of the same people. And to go to a show in Boston or on the East Coast, this is a whole different fan base. And so I found, a couple of people that listened to our show. That was fun.
Oh, what was that like?
Fantastic. Big ups to Matt. Let me get his so he is Matt, I think Buckaloo. I'm not going to say that correctly. On Twitter and Instagram. But he saw me at the show and has been listening to our show forever, and loves it. And he was just a really, really nice guy, and it was great to meet him. And then I got to meet Jason, Jedi Fett. If you got yes, later in the night, and so he was super nice. So when you go out to these new places, all of these new experiences, like I said, new fans, new wrestlers that you don't get to see, new friends, so it's stuff like that. It's like branch out a little bit, and just see what it's like. It was awesome going to the Bronx and hanging out with you and Hokai and Rick Castle, and so I was like, let me just go to Boston, check this out, check out like what Beyond is like, and I actually got to meet one of the other like wrestler friends, like we're friends on Instagram, Dan Terry. I'd never seen him wrestle before, but he was just there as a fan. So it was nice getting to talk to him, like, just like on a personal level, like he wasn't a worker that night, like we just got to be fans and to meet him. And so, like your comfort zone every once in a while, or go to a new place, go to a new city and meet all the new people that are in your wrestling fan, but you never actually get to meet.
That's true, because we're so wrapped up in in just getting to the events and trying to spread the positive energy. But 9 times out of 10, we don't take it upon ourselves to build bonds while we're there. Like we go with our crew, our clique, or whatever you want to call it, but we don't make friends there. And by we, I mean the wrestling fandom. We talked about last week and weeks prior to that about WrestleFam. And it's hard to build WrestleFam when you're at an event. I know I suck at it. We talked off air about my inability to allow people to get next to me.
Yeah.
Like I'm some sort of germaphobe, which I'm not. Again, not a germaphobe.
Guys. Yeah.
Just anxiety. Get away from me. No, but not really. So it's hard. It's really difficult to be able to start those bonds at the event.
Did I lose you? Damian. Hello, hello, hello.
Where'd you go? Sorry, folks. We've run into a little bit of technical difficulties here. We'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. The internet sucks today. Sorry. Hello. God damn it, Trina. Why can I not hear you? Speak. No. Can you hear me? Can you at least type in that you hear me? Why can't I hear you? Yeah, it's you. Because I can hear stuff coming out of. I can hear stuff on my end. It's you. Why? Wait, you can't hear me at all? Mm. Hold on. Can you hear me now? I still can't hear you. I'm going to choke you. Ah! The hell is that? I hear stuff.
Okay, hello?
Yes. What happened to you?
Can you hear me? No.
Yes.
Damn it.
I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Change your settings.
Oh, God, technical difficulties.
I can hear you.
Alex, can I borrow your headphones? This is the worst. Like, we were halfway recording and then everything just dropped. So you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Hang on. I'm holding this thing like it's like a spaceship.
Yeah, here too. Oh.
Why is this not working?
Lower the reverb. There you go.
Oh. I'm killing your ears.
Yes, you're killing my ears.
Damn it. Why is this so hard?
Because technology is not our friend.
Hello, hello.
Can you hear me? Damn it, Trina. Oh, wait. Your mic's deactivated. You're still mute. Talk. Ah, no. I'm going to shoot you. I have no choice but to shoot you now. I love my partner. She's like, what am I doing? Mm. Trina, please tell me you can at least hear me. Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
God, I can't hear you.
Where
We're
are
just
you
talking.
Why can't you hear me? Mm-mm. Nothing. Nothing. You got nothing. You could literally say you're trying to kill the world right now, and I wouldn't even know. What we can do is I can do the episode, and you can just type in your responses, and I can tell that back to the audience. I'm like, well, Trina said, and then Trina said. What? Just do that? Okay. That's going to be so weird. Okay. Okay, so this is going to be a special edition of Indie Pop where it's just yours truly, Damian Salty G, because my partner has now gone mute, apparently. She is on strike. She is not talking. She is just going to be typing like she's Stephen Hawking into the group chat because I can't hear a word she's saying. She's speaking into 4 dead mics. So I guess what I was saying before was when you try to make new fans, new Wrestle Friend fam, it's hard. So I was asking Trina what exactly she does to try to, I guess, alleviate the problem with trying to make WrestleFam friends. Me, I can't do that. I'm just physically incapable of being able to do something like that. So that's why I have people who are my personal mouthpieces. So big shout out to Rick Castle for, hey, whoa. I hear things.
Okay.
Hello?
Can
Yes.
you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I've just called in using my phone. So
how the hell did that work?
I have no idea. Because I get the invite on my phone too. So hang on. Let me just kill this one. Hello?
And yeah, I hear you.
Okay. There we go. Let's do it that way.
Okay. Yeah, that works for me, but you just want to pick up right where we left off because Mikey's going to have to edit a lot out now.
No, poor Mikey. I don't know what you want to do. You're the professional. I defer to you in these situations.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to pick up right where you left off, and I'm just going to welcome everyone again, just in case you weren't paying attention. This is Indie Pop on the New Age Insiders Network with your host, The Last Mark Standing, Damian Salty G, and Hila Trina herself, the Marky Smark. Before we got interrupted, we were talking about trying to make wrestle friends while you're at an event, especially at an independent wrestling event where it's so intimate and it's very difficult when you're wrapped up in it, when you're trying to pay attention to what you're watching. But thusly, it's an issue for people like me because I don't like having people next to me. So I was asking Trina before we had our technical glitches, how does she handle making WrestleFam friends when she's at an event?
Yeah. So actually, the easiest way is to find fans who are just like you. You and I, we went to Battle Club Pro in the Bronx a couple weeks ago. It's even if we didn't sit next to each other, I think it would have been really clear that we should be wrestle friends because we've reacted to things exactly the same way. And so that's how I've done it at different shows. Rockstar Pro, I've found friends there just because we both said one fall or like we just reacted to things in the exact same way. And I remember standing up and he stood up and we just pointed at each other and it was like a mutual understanding that we are the same type of fan. And then like we ended up finding each other later on Twitter and like now we're friends. And so it's just like gravitate towards the people that you relate to, like there are people that are not
who are not barking in the background.
God, we have every single technical difficulty you could get. there are going to be people who just like keep to themselves and like just watch wrestling and don't want to like make friends and not talk to anybody. And there are going to be people that are super like rambunctious and into it and like, like just there to have fun, and so gravitate towards them or like just strike up conversations with people at the merch tables. Like if you both like the same wrestler, like wrestlers are down like to connect people and things like that. And, I feel like you shouldn't try so hard necessarily and just let it happen naturally. And you'll find the people that are just like you. Like if I'm in a crowd and the guys behind me are because usually people will make jokes or whatever. They'll have their like little comments. If they're funny, then I'll laugh and I'll acknowledge them. Like I'll be like, that's really good. And just stuff like that. Like, because it's lonely. It's a lonely existence. This is right. I mean, this is what I've learned from 30 something years, like being a wrestling fan and not having any wrestling friends, is that like at some point you just have to try anything and everything and just see what sticks. Because if you've followed us for a while, since we started Last Mark Standing, I told a lot of you guys, like our very first, I think 1 or 2 episodes of Last Mark Standing, I went to WrestleMania and couldn't make one friend, like at all.
That's depressing. That even now, I'm still depressed by that.
Do you remember? I mean, I remember doing the episode with you, and I just like was telling you all these instances where I tried to like relate to people. Like I told one guy I really liked his New Day socks, and then he like shooed me away.
Like, scoffed at you, like, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I would like try and talk to people while I was at NXT, and like the whole weekend, the only friends I made were at the Cheap Heat podcast get together. Because there were like no girls there, and I guess alcohol was involved, so it made it a little bit easier. But I'm still friends with those guys that I met at WrestleMania at the Cheap Heat podcast meetup, like about a year ago. So.
Well, that that brings up a good point. That really does bring up a good point. And indie pop people, if you're not familiar from what we're talking about, you could tune into Last Mark Standing on lastmarkstanding.com or on SoundCloud and iTunes, because this is a topic in our first episode where we talked about, especially a woman going to one of these events and trying to legitimately make friendship connections, especially in the realm of wrestling, because that is like a unicorn in the mist. You never see them. They're often talked about, but rarely seen. And I can really say this. I have good luck with that. I have been very successful with meeting female wrestling fans who I can enjoy a match with and not look at them, A, like they're a sex object, B, like they're inferior to me, or C, like they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Like, if you've heard me talk ad nauseum about my love of professional women's wrestling, it's so not for the reason that most guys, and I'm going to put the word guys out there, are watching it. They're watching for the TNA, not me. I'm looking to see if you can pull off a Frankensteiner, if you can do a really proper STF. Those are the things I'm looking forward to. Shit, when we saw Jordan Grace do a handspring, I'm like, I can't do a damn handspring. So those, those are the things I appreciate. But you, on the other hand, when you go to these events and you have to deal with the slings and the proverbial arrows, I know there's a perception of the female wrestling fan. And we'll touch upon this here, but we'll go into more detail when we do Last Mark Standing later this week about the perception of being a ring rat. Now, that's a really sensitive term. It's a loaded term. I don't like the term. I think it's stupid. I've tried to educate those who don't understand what the term ring rat means. But at the same time, I'm a guy, so they may not want to be listening to a guy say that. So, Trina, when you tell me or you tell our fans that you make it a habit that you are not looking like or being portrayed as a ring rat, what exactly do you mean by that?
I just plugged my phone in. Sorry about that.
Did you miss my whole question?
No, I got the question. Trust me, I got it. Gosh, you put me on the spot now, because we talked about this like in a different way, I think, off air, and so now I sort of have to recontextualize it. Let's see. So if I'm at a show, it's just a little weird to me when people are talking to the same wrestler for the entire show, and not like paying attention to the show. Like that's the thing. Like I'm there for the show, and it's very clear that I'm there for the show. You know, like even if I do know people that are working the show, like I try not to even like try and trivialize their time while the show is going on, because fans want to talk to them. You know, like I've done this before. Like I've been in like serious conversation with like Colt Cabana, or been fighting about something or whatever, and there's like a line of fans behind me waiting to talk to him. Like I'll step aside and be like, look, this is not the time for this. Like, you know, like this is for the fans. And so it's stuff like that. Like, you know, if you're there for the spirit of wrestling, I think it's obvious, you know what I mean? And if you're just there to like pick someone up or whatever, like, I think that's very obvious too. And so, you know, just like know that there's a perception about women fans, about female fans. And, you know, like if you're truly there for the show, then like, you just have to prove it a little bit more, which sucks, you know, like it does suck. But, you know, we've said this before on our show, on Last Mark Standing and this show. It's like when you're trying to be something different, when you're the first of something, or you're a minority or whatever, anytime you stand out in a situation, your actions are going to be scrutinized way more than anyone else that looks like they belong there. So nobody's going to go and think that any male fan at an independent wrestling show is there to try and sleep with the female wrestlers. But they're going to think that a female fan is, because, you know, like there just aren't a lot of female fans. And, you know, people don't have a lot of experience with female wrestling fans. They don't know a lot of them personally and things like that. And so, you know, I get that moniker, I get that label of being a ring rat, because I do go to a lot of shows. And, you know, a lot of the times people that have called me that typically don't know me that well, because, you know, like it ends up being like the people who have known me for a long time defending me, because they know for a fact that I'm there to cover the show or cover it for our podcast and things like that. And so, you know, I don't know. It just came up recently where a friend told me he defended me recently when somebody called me that. And I told him, I'm like, I'm glad that you defended me. Like, I'm so happy that you stood up for me. But in all honesty, I already thought that to begin with. Like, that's how I operate. You can't be a woman in wrestling, covering wrestling, going to indie shows, not having that in the back of your mind. You know, like, I'm sure Erin Andrews, you know, when she started out, that wasn't, you know, or even now, like, sadly, probably even now, people probably just assume that she sleeps with all the like this, the players and stuff like that. Like, it's just a reality, you know, like, it sucks, but just know that you're going to be scrutinized more.
Well, I mean, you know me, things like this get me exacerbated, and then I have to take 5 steps back before I get all salty about it. But in the field that I work in, my professional non-broadcasting life, it's predominantly women. I've actually faced the reverse. Right. In this field where there's not a lot of men. So the minute I walk in the door, I'm sized up by the staff of women. And it makes me feel really uncomfortable. So I can empathize being in a place where you're not the norm. And it's like, holy crap, you just dropped like the water in the desert, and all of a sudden everybody wants to drink. And it's like, no, that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here for that.
You know, I'm going to interrupt you really quick, because I know that there are going to be some people that will discount what you just said.
Of course they will.
There are going to be people that are like, there's no way a man can know what a woman feels like in these situations, because there's just no way. But, you know, like, what I have to say to those people is that, like, at least you're trying to empathize. Like, at least you're trying to put yourself in my shoes and have an understanding of what it's like for me. Obviously, Damian as a man will never know what it's like to be in a woman in like a predominantly male environment, but at least he's trying to empathize and see my point of view. I think that's the first step in talking about anything like this. So, you know, before you guys send the hate mail, which you probably already have, you know, Damian's trying his best to understand the situation, and he's voicing that he's had something similar happen to him, and what he's saying is completely valid. It doesn't minimize my experience.
Nope.
And it doesn't mean that, you know, like, I don't know. It doesn't minimize my experience. I think you're valid. Whatever you're saying is valid too. Let's just leave it at that.
Right. For me, it's just more of a just trying to understand and make people understand that these are things that
Mm-hmm.
happen, and we should be empathetic to what's going on with our fellow friends and fans. And
Mm-hmm.
that's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to say, I know what you're feeling. No, I'm not, because I'm not.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I do understand the dynamics of that
Mm-hmm.
because one, I'm a psychologist, and two,
Mm-hmm.
in the reverse way, like I said, it's something that I have seen with my own two eyes. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you're gonna send me hate mail anyway, so let me just put it out there at Dare to be Damien on
Oh
Twitter.
God.
Come find me, Damien Salty G. I am more than welcome. I more than open my DMs for you all to hate me. That's fine.
Ah,
But I digress.
yeah.
That's another issue for another day. But here's the funny part about everything we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We have a voice. I have a
Mm-hmm.
voice, you have a voice, because we're able to articulate our feelings on this show, on
Mm-hmm.
Last Mark Standing. Not many people have the ability to eloquently and effectively do that.
Mm-hmm.
So when people try to demean the message, because our
Mm-hmm.
last week's episode, we had a lot of good information, but it was getting shot down by a couple of people. I won't name them, but they did appear in my DMs that
Mm-hmm.
we're nothing but a bunch of fanboys and fangirls. Our opinion doesn't matter. And Trina's gotten that before. I've gotten that before. But there's something to be said about the power of having a podcast that
Uh-huh.
reaches people on a bigger level than the subject matter could ever do. So we all have some sort of influence in this business. You know,
Yeah.
me behind the mic, Trina behind the mic, us at shows.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It shows, to borrow that phrase, where when
Mm-hmm.
we're authentically out there, and then we get a chance
Mm-hmm.
to talk to you about it here on Indie Pop. And I don't want to get too meta, but when you go to an independent wrestling show and you have a podcast or
Mm-hmm.
broadcast or whatever that's followed by however many people follow it,
Mm-hmm.
you have the power to encourage
Mm-hmm.
and to motivate. And when we're
Right.
doing things like this, that shows the level of I guess, positivity, to borrow a line from the New Day, that we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to get across. And if you don't like it, that's fine. If we're not your cup of tea, that's cool too. But Trina can attest to this. We
Mm-hmm.
have a bit of a power. We're not
Mm-hmm.
saying we're like the broadcast elite. We're not saying we're better than anybody else. But the fact that we have a deep rooted connection to the subject matter
Mm-hmm.
does matter.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Trina?
Right. I think so too. And again, you just sprung something on me that we didn't talk about off air. I didn't know that we got DMs about last week's show. So that's new to me. And what I have to say to that is, like, we're all fans. Even the wrestlers are fans. So I don't know why that disqualifies us from having a podcast about indie wrestling. Either you're a fan or you're a worker, or you're all fans, and some of them happen to be workers. So it's like, there's no experts on this. This is an art form. So, whether we're just two fan girls and fanboys talking about this stuff, or we're Dave Meltzer or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, our opinion is as valid as his, and vice versa, because we're talking about our opinions, and we're talking about an art form here. So we can be wrong about this stuff, and you don't have to follow us or whatever. Like, we're not claiming to be experts on anything. We're two people who had a podcast, and we're offered this podcast by other people who have podcasts, who are also just fans. So, I mean, we're all in this together. Like, I don't know what we're supposed to be. Like, what are you looking for in indie pop? Like insider information, like Damian and I both have that, but, we're not, out of respect for the business, like, we don't talk about those things. We cover this as fans, because that's the best way to cover it. We feel like, so there's that. And two, we do have power, because I did meet a lot of fans this weekend who had never seen certain wrestlers, and were looking forward to seeing them because we talked about them on our show. And so they've been listening to indie pop for weeks and weeks now, and heard about all these Zachary Wentz, all these guys that I talk about all the time. And, like, they finally see these guys in person, and it isn't like, oh, here's, whoever. It's like, oh, you're the guys that Trina and Damian put over all the time. I heard that, like clear as day. Someone said that this weekend. And so it made me feel like, someone's listening to what we're saying. There are people there that care about our opinion. You don't have to, like, not everybody does, you know, but like, please go to these indie shows and try and prove us wrong. Like, if you go out there and you don't like Ken Broadway, tell us why. You know, like, I want to know differing opinions. Ken Broadway probably wants to know why. You know, like, what Damian has found is that a lot of these wrestlers want the critiques, and they want, you know, like, the reasons why you don't like them, because they're trying to work out all the kinks and trying to figure out how to get to the next level. Right. So if you hear about certain wrestlers from us and then you go to a show and you see them, I'm just glad that you're going to that show. And you're seeing someone for the first time. If you don't agree with us, then definitely, you know, like, you can DM, or you can start your own podcast. You can, you know, call that wrestler out, whatever you want to do. These guys appreciate any sort of publicity they can get.
Right.
So, you know, we're just two fans with a platform, and we're going to put over the people that we like. If you don't agree with us, you know, like, you go see the show yourself and you do something about it. But we're all just fans. We're all just fans.
Well, and staying in that vein, didn't you yourself see a tag team for the first time this weekend that I recommended?
Right, exactly. I mean, so it was the greatest thing going to Beyond. I went by myself because I got to see all these people that Damian's been talking about, you know, because Damian covers the East Coast. I cover mostly the Midwest. Damian gets to do Evolve and all these other shows, House of Glory, that I'd never get to see. So he sees a whole roster of wrestlers that I just don't get to see here in the Midwest. You know, like TJ Marconi, like, still, like, I've never had a chance to see him. And so I got to see EYFBO, this tag team that Damian's talked about on the podcast before. And I have to say, they're as advertised. So good. I wasn't just impressed with their wrestling acumen, like, their character work, you know, like, they kept me entertained, even when they were outside of the ring, like, just recovering from a move, you know, like, the way that they worked as a team, the way that they talked to each other as a team, it was just fantastic. Like, I really gained a lot of respect for them as wrestlers, not just because you told me that they were good, but I saw it, you know, with my own eyes. And I had a couple other fans, same thing, who were like, oh, you know, like, Dave and Jake Chris were as advertised. Like, you guys have been talking about them for weeks and months now, and they're exactly as good as you said. And so it's stuff like that, you know, like, that was really fantastic to hear from fans. You know, and even if the person didn't agree with me, I'm like, hey, at least they're listening to our show. So, you know, like, at the end of the day, like, we're fans. We have a show. You can do the same thing, you know, like, put your friends over. So
I'm just imagining a group of people. Yeah, I'm imagining a group of people that will do a podcast just to tell people that they hate the guys and girls from The Last Mark Standing. I think that would be hilarious.
I do, bring it, you know, like, you know, if you're, they say, like, you haven't made it until you have haters. So if people really,
then we've made it, because we got them.
Yeah. If you want to start a podcast about all the things that we do wrong, I'd love to hear it. Please bring it. Please bring it.
Yeah, again, that's at Dare to Be Damien and at the Marquise Mark, because we enjoy hate mail. I enjoy when I get my DMs flooded by people that tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, that I'm an uneducated blah blah blah. I'm not going to say the terms they use, but it makes my day a lot more interesting when I get to read these types of situations. So thank you to you, all you haters out there. Big old Damianistic thumbs up to you. So just a quick segue. I want to try something different. I asked our audience, our Indie Pop and Last Mark Standing audience, to recommend an independent wrestling match between people who are in the WWE currently while they were in the Indies. Now, a lot of people tweeted me Generico versus Steen. We've seen that a billion times in WWE. But one I don't remember seeing too often was one of Luke Harper, then known as Brody Lee, versus Cesaro, then known as Claudio Castagnoli, and it was in Shikara. It was a steel cage match from 2008. Now, this is how I'm going to break this match down. Apparently, it was one of those things where it was a blow-off to a feud where no one could get the upper hand. No one could get a convincing victory, so they had to settle their disagreements in a steel cage. Sounds pretty standard. So while I'm watching this match, there's two things that come to mind off the bat. Number one, thank God for the WWE Performance Center. Because these guys back in 2008 looked like they don't look as defined and as fit as they do now. I'll just put that there and let you have that one. Do whatever you want with it. The second thing I noticed is Luke Harper has not changed his clothes since 2008. He was still wearing the tank top, the ripped jeans, the boots, still looking like he lives in the outback wilderness. Like that's been his gimmick since 2008. Because apparently, according to the announcers, he had like a pop star gimmick or like a Adam Rosie type gimmick where he was like, a generic baby face, and all of a sudden he turned like into a woodland creature. So he's still the same gimmick after all these years.
Hey, so if it works, it works. It clearly.
Oh yeah, if it works, it works. And his shirt was a little less dirty. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. A lot more dirty now compared to back then. So maybe his shirt's been performance enhanced as well.
Right, it's been 9 years.
Yeah, he hasn't washed it. He hasn't bathed much. His beard's a little gnarly. But
yeah.
During the match, a couple things it shot out to me. Cesaro is as strong back in 2008 as he is now, because he was still doing some of his spots that he does now, the swing, the European uppercut. But something that really struck a chord with me is that he did a gorilla press slam of Brody Lee into the steel cage to the point where and there was color. He busted his head open by getting thrown into the cage.
Okay, that's trajectory.
Yeah, that was interesting to see Cesaro or Claudio in that incarnation being able to Ultimate Warrior press slam big
right
into a steel cage face first. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's insane, because the science there is like, okay, maybe you can like get the person up into the and get the person up in the air, but to throw them with a trajectory to bust them open is what's impressive to me, because anybody can just drop somebody. But to physically throw them takes some strength. So that's very impressive to me.
And the second thing I noticed from Luke Harper or Brody Lee, aside from the wardrobe, he still hits hard. He works that match. If you get a chance to check that match out, it's on YouTube. It's a Shikara match, 2008. Again, Brody Lee versus Claudio Castagnoli. But the stiffness in which the chops, and I talk about this all the time, the Damian scale. In the first 5 minutes, I cringed at least 5 to 6 different chop moments where I'm thinking there's no freaking way his chest is going to survive this, because the severity, even the forearm blows, the fist blows, they seemed heavy. There was a oomph to them. And, we always talk about suspension of disbelief. And for me, I'm thinking, holy crap, this feels like a shoot fight. And I love that. I love when it feels like a shoot fight. Even though they're working safe, it still feels like a shoot. So you get to see the indie version compared against the WWE version. And yes, it's a little bit more safer, as I put the air quotes up, to work that WWE style. But it's also the reason why I love the indies so much, because they are willing, and as cliche as it sounds, to leave everything on the line and put it all out there and have a hard-hitting match to the point where, dude, I didn't think these two people were going to make it. There was a top rope spot where they both wound up straddling the top rope on each other. They crouched each other. So they're straddling the top rope, and then they're having a slugfest on top of the top rope. And I'm thinking, holy crap, this is amazing. And then Cesaro wins, or Claudio wins the match with what they call the Ricola bomb. If you don't know what Ricola is, the Swiss cough drop maker. But it was like a last ride power bomb where Claudio has to take Brody Lee from a bent back, a lean back position into the power bomb instead of a straight up and down. It's more like, I'm going to tilt you northwest and then bring you down into the power bomb, into a sit down power
Oh,
bomb.
I totally have to see this now.
Yeah,
I'm so excited about seeing this now.
It's like 14 minutes. It's got heavy action. Is it one of the best matches I've seen? No, but it really paints the picture as to how different the WWE style is compared to the indie style. And you take the two same superstars who work similar styles into the current match to tell the story, because a lot of people are big on story, but it was an enjoyable match. So that's one thing I really liked.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're a fan of either of those guys, just to see the progression, to see you know what they can do now as opposed to what they were doing 9 years ago is amazing. Because off air, you and I were even talking about a Kenny Omega match that you were had been suggested to see, and it was what 2011.
2011 against him and Prince Devitt.
Yeah, Finn Balor. So, and it was markedly different from the iteration of Kenny Omega that we see now.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest to the audience. I did try to watch that. It was from New Japan, 2011. I think it was the best of the Super Juniors in 2011. But I just didn't like Kenny Omega so much in the match, I had to turn it off halfway through. Yeah. Because, and this is going to sound a little Jim Cornette-ish, but I agree with him, where he says that back in 2011, Kenny Omega, good look, horrible worker. Because when I say worker, I don't just mean the athletic portion of it. I'm talking about the nuance. I'm talking about the storytelling. Kenny Omega was acting as if he was a video game wrestler. Every 5 seconds, it was like, like I felt like he was powering up to go Super Saiyan for every move he was doing, and it took away from the match. Like there was no commentary. So watching it and hearing it, for me, made me want to turn that off. It's sort of like when, and I'm about to get WWE-ish for a second, when Cena calls spots that are so audibly loud that it ruins the match for you. And I've told you this, Trina, I don't like when I can hear spots so loud where it's like turnbuckle, belly to belly, you know, it just bugs me. So when I'm hearing Kenny Omega grunt and yelp and make these noises for no apparent reason other than to just do it.
Yeah.
It was like watching Zangief from Street Fighter make like grunt noises. That's it. That was essentially what I was watching.
I would imagine that he probably thought that it was enhancing the match. You know, just like when people scream Ring of Harambe, they think it's enhancing the match.
Right. And, you know, and I know Liz, you know, Lost in Stereo Liz loves Kenny Omega. But that version, I have no interest in watching. I like who he is now. And sometimes it takes a while for people to find their niche, and that happens.
Right.
But if I have to watch another Kenny Omega match like that, no, I'll pass. I'm good.
Yeah. Which is that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it, because like you can watch whatever you want to watch. If you don't like 2011 Kenny Omega, then there's like a million other things that you could watch instead. You know, we do cover wrestling, we study wrestling, and so I think for us it was interesting for you to see that, because it does show progression and evolution in a wrestler. It shows, you know, what he changed, what he tweaked from then to now. You know, good character, just bad execution. You know, it just took him a while to figure that out, and obviously now he's got it figured out. And so to me, that's amazing to see that growth in a wrestler from, you know, 5-6 years, and see the difference. It just shows you that this is a craft that they're working on. And that's why it's important to go to indie shows, because, you know, the Sami Callihan, I'll tell you this, the Sami Callihan that you guys saw early last year, though very good, is not the same Sami Callihan you're seeing now. He's evolved the character. He has whole new gear for 2017, first of all. So, I mean, you know, new storylines, new factions, all sorts of stuff. And so, you know, you're going to see an evolution with guys if you follow them long enough. You know, so I know our Liz is a little bit young, so maybe she wasn't watching in 2011. But you know, she's a big fan of him now, and that's all that matters. Like, push the guys you like if they're doing good work now. You know, and even if they're not doing great work now, like push them so that they can change and they can learn how to make things better. You know, I know a lot of guys that are very much developmental. And they constantly are changing their gimmicks. They're constantly changing their characters, their heels, faces. They have no idea. You know, and they ask me, like, because they know I've watched a lot of wrestling, what do you think of this? I mean, I don't care if they take my opinion or not. Like, I'm just glad that they asked me in the first place.
Right.
You know, I've even had guys ask me what I thought about their t-shirt designs and things like that. And so, you know, just expose yourself to as much as you can. And I said this earlier in the episode, none of us are experts, but if you expose yourself to enough, you'll have seen enough in the wrestling business to give an educated opinion on something.
Agreed. And that's what we're here for. It's all about education. And this was my first real non-hyped up viewing of Kenny Omega. You know, and he's changed, and that happens, and people evolve and they change, and I love it. I love seeing the growth.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't want to watch Zayn or
Right.
Generico versus Steen, because I feel like they wrestle the same match every time, but it's not a knock. They're just that good with one another that I don't need to see how they were back in Ring of Honor. They're probably a little bit more fit, and they're a little bit more furry, I guess, with their beards. That's like the only difference for me.
Right.
You know, so watching Omega and Finn Balor, formerly known as Fergal Devitt, but that's what it is, you know. And I want to make this a weekly, especially on weeks where I don't go to an indie show. I want to be able to experience independent wrestling. So if I can't go, or if I can't watch it on Flow Stream or somewhere like an IPPV, I can at least have someone tweet me matches to watch at Dare to be Damian, tweet us at Last Mark Podcast, and Trina at the Marky Smart. But Trina, I know we've got a little bit of a weird situation going with this episode, and I want to apologize to the audience if it's a little, if it feels in parts that we kind of just like jump from one thing to another. We had a lot of technical difficulties on this one. We'll do the best we can. So our editor, Mikey, freelance Mikey, will have his work cut out for him. But I did want to say this. In how many weeks now? Oh, no, not even weeks. In 3 days. Yeah, 3 days. I will be attending the much talked about Hood Slam.
Woo!
I will be in attendance. For those that don't know, look it up, Hood Slam. It's a, how would you describe it, Trina? How would you describe it?
Adults only, a grittier style of wrestling, you know. This is not like NXT or like WWE or anything. They advertise it, you know, like, don't bring your kids. Like, this is an adults only wrestling show. So some crazy stuff. I think what I've explained before, for example, is that if you know Joey Ryan's shtick, know that he took it a step further when he debuted a Hood Slam. So just FYI, like, if you want any idea of what Hood Slam is compared to other organizations, know that.
Right. I mean, the event's called Femmed Out, so you can probably put two and two together when I say the term Femmed Out. But you can go to their website, birdswillfall.com. It shows all the Hood Slam events, and this weekend, Friday and Saturday, February 3rd and 4th, at the Oakland Metro Opera House. I will be in attendance. I'm looking forward to seeing Pizza Cat, as she's been dubbed, and she looks like Catwoman, but she has pizzas for ears, so I think that's pretty cool. I'm going with friends from New York who are going to be, you know, who live in San Francisco, so they're going with me because, you know, social anxiety sucks balls, but there are a couple of fans of Indie Pop and Last Mark Standing who will be there. So I know to not kick them if they approach me or push them down a flight of stairs if they surprise me from behind. But Miss Amanda Jane, I know you want to see me and give me a hug. You can give me a hug. You can buy me a drink. You know, we've been talking about this. You're going to educate me about the love of Hood Slam. So I really appreciate that. And in 17 days, I was going to say 14 days, 17 days. Yeah, you forgot about that. One of us, not named me, makes our indie wrestling debut as a ring announcer for Glory Pro Wrestling in Alton, Illinois. And for those that don't know, it is the federation from Big Mike Elgin. Trina is their ring announcer. So she has a very important job, as you've heard before, on Indie Pop, where not only does she have to announce weights and heights and character names and be like David Adams, where she has to put like her own stank on it. She has to get the crowd kind of riled up when people aren't paying attention and like, start a chant maybe, or 3 or 4.
Right, exactly.
But for me, the best part of it is I get to interview my first on air,
oh God,
mind you, on air interview for this show. So that's going to be interesting because, my partner is actually working for the promotion. So that's going to be fun. And I'm going to ask her all the tough questions that she knows I'm known for. So she should prepare herself accordingly.
You already sprung like 2 questions on me today, like tonight during this episode. So I don't even know now what's going to happen when you do this. So, whoo.
I'm good at my job, Trina. What can I say? But
that's true. He really is.
I expect you to be great at your job, and I know you'll be great at your job. And I'm looking so forward because I'm so proud to be able to see you. Myself, Rick Castle will be there. Josh is going to be there. Gabby, Enrico. We have a whole contingent of Last Mark Standing / indie pop persons who are going to be showing up to support you and support the promotion. So that's great.
Is this another thing to be terrified about?
Social anxiety, don't fail me now.
Oh God. Yeah. So that's happening.
That's happening. So Trina, if there's any last minute things you want to tell the audience before we get out of this craptastic episode of Indie Pop on the New Age Insiders Network, please let me know.
It's just disjointed. It's not craptastic. It's wonderful as usual.
Well, we are wonderful.
That's true. Glory Pro, that's in a couple weeks. You're going to go to Hood Slam. I'm going to be attending AEW in LaSalle this weekend as well. I get to spend like the whole weekend with Joey Ryan practically. So hopefully he isn't too creeped out by how much I love him. So
I don't know if this is a good thing, leaving you and Joey Ryan in the same room for a long period of time.
I know, right? I know. I'm a little freaked out.
I am too, for your sake. So yeah.
So keep an eye on our social medias. Damian's going to be tweeting about Hood Slam, and I'll be tweeting about this weekend as well. And keep an eye on Joey Ryan's social media. Maybe he might tweet about how creepy I am. Who knows? So
because we know you're creepy.
Wrestling. Yes.
Support indie wrestling. Support places like Hood Slam, AIW, AAW. Partridge in a Pear Tree Federation. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you hold 50 people or 150 people. An event's an event. Go out and support local talent because you know what? They do it for the love because they're not getting a lot of money for it. So it's the least they can do. And buy their merch because I've come to the realization I have way too many wrestling shirts in my house. So I have to cut back. So sorry, guys and gals. I don't think I'm going to be buying any more shirts. So if MJF sees me again at CZW, the answer is no. No, I am not buying another shirt. MJF, I'm sorry.
That's funny. I love it.
Yeah. So thank you to New Age Insiders. Thank you to all of you for listening and putting up with us for yet another week. We are the Last Mark Standing. Damian Salty G and Heel Trina herself, the Marquis Smart. We will see you next week.
Bye, guys.